Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Katie Wilson is mad that the Seattle Police Department is calling out her BS. But what do you expect when she's putting people's lives in danger? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
In only 1 week since the signature gathering efforts went live, Let's Go Washington volunteers have collected over 92,000 signatures. At this rate, they will be well on their way to collecting all the signatures they need by the end of the month. That doesn't mean you should slow down. That means you should hit the gas harder. You only have until about June 28th to get all the signatures we need to repeal the income tax. But you want this to be a message to Olympia. Yeah, you need somewhere between 400,000 and 500,000 signatures. You want 1 million signatures. You want as many as you can get. Now, here's the crazy thing. Anytime I mention the signature gathering, a lot of you say, Ari, we haven't gotten our sheets yet. Ari, we haven't gotten our sheets yet. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? My friends, they're in the mail right now. You should see them the first week of June, which is next week. So if you haven't gotten them yet, don't worry, they are on their way. It takes time to print. Plus, you had a whole bunch of people signing up, and you want to do it in bulk mail, so you save a little bit of money. The signature sheets are on the way, and as soon as you get them, I want you to fill them out for everybody in your house. I want everybody in your house to sign them, and then send them right back. You want to keep a couple extra pages to go collect signatures? Fine. But realize if you send back the ones you have right there in the house, you make everybody else's job easier. They will be mailed out. You can go to letsgowa.com. That's letsgowa.com, letsgowashington.com, and you can get your signature sheets if you don't have them already. Also, while you are there, there is a list of locations that you can go to so that you can find where you can sign these sheets if you haven't done so already. Now, this massive, overwhelming, record-breaking response, more than any of the other initiatives, possibly more than any initiative in state history, is freaking out the Democrats. They may realize, or they may be realizing, that they kicked over a hornet's nest and that people are going to turn on them right before a midterm election. So Turd Ferguson goes online and posts on social media. What does he do? He pulls up his personal account. Normally, Turd Ferguson posts on his public account.
Turd Ferguson.
Exactly. But today he's being extra smelly, and what he's doing is he's posting on his personal account. Now, on his public account, it's always like how wonderful the income tax is, how great the income tax is. And here's what he writes. It looks like voters will get a say on whether to maintain the tax on income over $1 million that was passed earlier this year. And I look forward to the public having their say on this important policy.
Turd Ferguson.
Yes. Notice how he phrases that. Whether to maintain the tax, not whether to repeal the tax. I look forward to the public having their say on this important tax. You're full of turds, my friend. That's why
Ferguson.
That's why we call you Turd Ferguson. Let me tell you why. Turd Ferguson put an emergency clause on this bill, which means it doesn't go to referendum, which is easier than an initiative. It means we have to do the whole initiative process, which is harder. Turd Ferguson didn't do a constitutional amendment to amend the Constitution to actually have this tax. Why? Because he knows that Washingtonians have rejected an income tax 11 times before. So he doesn't want to do that. So him saying he wants your voice, he wants them having their say, he is completely full of turds. How do I know this? Democrats spent the last couple legislative sessions trying to undermine the initiative process. Also, this is the same group of Democrats that are restricting journalist access. This is the same group of Democrats who do everything they can behind the scenes, including colluding with the Attorney General's office to circumvent your rights. You're looking forward to the public having their say. Spare me your nonsense. You are completely full of garbage. What else does the turd write here? To be clear, this reform of our regressive tax code include expansion of tax credits for working families, relief for small businesses, and investments in K through 12 and affordable health care. None of that is actually true. Turd Ferguson and the Democrats sliced Medicaid, sliced Medicare, sliced K through 12, sliced everything. And if you're talking about affordable child care, why don't you guys investigate all the fraud in our child care system? You might save a few dollars and not have to tax anybody. This working tax credit, you're lucky if you get it. Depends on the color of your skin. In addition to that, relief for small businesses. Well, if the millionaires who are funding the big businesses take their big businesses and leave town, your small business is going to have less customers. And the working families who work for the big businesses, if their employer leaves town, they won't have a job anymore. He continues, one more thing voters should know. So long as I am governor, I will veto any attempt to lower the threshold or raise the rate of this tax. BS. I'm going to tell you why it is BS. Because Democrats rejected every single amendment to this bill, which would have made it so you can't lower the threshold. What Turd Ferguson is hoping for is a supermajority in the Washington state legislature. So that way he can veto something, but then they can override him. But wait, he already signed the stupid thing. So the thing's already going into law. The legislature changes a thing here or there. He goes, I didn't sign up on this. I'm going to just veto this. You guys got me, right? You guys are going to override my veto? Great. Which shows you why it is so important to get involved in your legislative races this cycle. You don't know who's running? We're going to start featuring candidates hopefully this week so you know who to vote for at the latest next week so you know who to support. He says we are asking those who make the most to pay a little more. How much would you like them to pay? They pay the majority of the tax bill already. What is their fair share? What is it? And soon you're going to lower the threshold. Plus, also, let's not forget this thing does affect businesses, which have $1 million of cash flow, whether or not that's profit. So already you're attacking a lot of small businesses. Never mind chasing out the people who the small businesses rely on for customers. He says, we are asking those who make the most to pay a little more in providing relief for workers and small businesses. Well, we already debunked all of that. Let's keep it that way. Okay, he slapped an emergency clause on this thing that doesn't go into effect until 2028. It's not much of an emergency. He did that to circumvent your vote. He did that to make sure it is harder for you to get signatures for the initiative process, which is why you have to go to letsgowa.com, letsgowashington.com, get those signature sheets. And if you missed the announcement before, they are being mailed out this week. That's why you haven't gotten them yet. As soon as you get them, send them back. He is so full of it that his post already has multiple community notes pending on it over on X. He is such a liar. But also he sees the writing on the wall. He sees that Let's Go Washington is going to get these signatures, please God, with your help. They're going to get these signatures. And I think what he's trying to do is get ahead of it and say, I think people should have had the right to talk about this the whole time. I'm on record as saying that. Because the average person doesn't know how many times he tried to circumvent the voters, how many times he tried to stop the will of the voters, how Attorney General Nick Brown was discussing with Jamie Peterson how to circumvent the voters. There's a story that's going around that actually summarizes the left so well. And we're going to do this from GeekWire. Here's the headline from GeekWire. Watch, Zuckerberg's super yacht arrives in Seattle just as Meta cuts 1,400 local jobs. By the way, the thing's gorgeous. A few of you sent me pictures of the thing today. There's pictures in the media. It's a gorgeous looking boat. I would never want a boat like that, even if I was an evil billionaire. And do you know why I would never want a boat like that? First of all, I can't rationalize spending that much money. I can't. Even if I had it, I can't wrap my head around it. Two, I cannot enjoy a boat which I can't drive. That's just me. I like driving boats. They say, all right, just learn to drive the super yacht. And I go, no, it's just, you end up taking everybody for rides all the time. Sometimes I just like going out on the water with just me and the wife, hanging out with me, the kids, whatever, maybe taking my in-laws' dog with us, something like that. Not super yacht, not my jam.
How often do they actually use these boats, do you think?
That's something else. It's not like they're the bad guys in a James Bond movie that live on these things. And thank you for asking that question because you're setting it up perfectly. So this thing came through the Ballard locks yesterday. It's coming through on its way to Lake Union. So it comes through the locks, right?
Coming in for repairs or something?
I don't know why it's here. I have no idea why it's here. And the article was too busy focused on rich guy has boat, he's bad. So what happens? People hear the boat's coming and they go to heckle the crew. The crew says, Zook ain't even on board. But they're heckling the crew. So the crew, which didn't lay off anybody at Meta, who are probably employees of Meta or a subsidiary or something. If Zook is smart, that thing is a business expense. It's not a personal expense, so you can deduct the sucker. But those are working class people relying on the gajillionaire for their jobs. And you're heckling them. It's as dumb as applauding at a movie. It's one thing if you go to a premiere and Mark Hamill is there from Star Wars, and Star Wars was a big hit. Or Tom Cruise is there for Top Gun, and Top Gun's a big hit. Zook ain't on the boat.
Yeah, but what if the movie's really, really good?
It really good. The
really
filmmakers
good.
Still don't know you applauded for it.
Well, I just feel like maybe it makes it back to them somehow.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it really?
Yeah.
No, you know how it makes it back
these dummies must think. These dummies must think that, the captain is just, reporting everything to Zuckerberg and it just being like, yeah, hey, by the way, when I rolled into Seattle, boy, they really hate you out here, Zuck.
Yeah.
Just letting you know.
Just want you to know, boss.
Yeah.
These people hate your guts. Duck, 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 fired, as we say. Right? What are you thinking, guys? But you are demonizing the workers. See what's going on here? They don't actually like the workers. They just want the wealth. They're jealous of Zook's boat. Look, am I jealous of Zook's boat? I'd be a fool to say no. That thing is gorgeous. Even though I just gave you a whole thing about how I don't like big boats and I want to be on the small boat, I would love to have a boat like this. Have some jet skis stored on the back, have a smaller motorboat on the back that I could use for water skiing and stuff. Sure. Would it be nice to live that way? But nothing in my life is worse because Zook has that boat. These people just want Zook's wealth. Now, is it bad optics to come sailing through Seattle with that sucker the day you fired 1,400 people? Absolutely. But, that boat ain't flying the American flag on it. It's flying a flag of a different country, the Marshall Islands. Do you know why? It's a common registry for large yachts because it avoids taxes. Oh, wait a minute. The rich people figured out how to pay less in taxes? So you think they're not going to leave? And I love how when I posted the story about the meta layoffs of 1,400 people in our area, people said, well, it's AI's fault. It's not the taxes' fault. Really? Really? How you gonna spin this one, guys? Do you know genies? Those blue lifts that go up and down to change lights and change electrical equipment or whatever it is. You've seen them. You've seen them out in the wild before. The blue genies. You've seen them, right? Kevin knows what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about because I applied for a gig there way back when.
Way back when? Well, it's a good thing you didn't get it because otherwise you would be in trouble this week. Let me tell you why. They are closing one of their facilities and consolidating, a little bit in Redmond where they have another one, but the majority of it out of state. You want to tell me how AI is taking the jobs of the guys who assemble the genies? It's not robots doing that work. 117 people were told to either relocate or you are out of work. You want to tell me again there's no capital flight from Washington? You want to tell me again businesses aren't leaving Washington? How about telling me again the wealthy aren't leaving Washington? How about this? From Fox 13, Roy Shatter and with Huntington and Ellis in Las Vegas posted a video on Instagram that starts with him saying, Seattle, Seattle, Seattle. In the video, he goes on to say the number one group moving to Nevada isn't California anymore. It's Seattle. He told Fox 13 that Washingtonians can get a lot more home in Nevada and that he is witnessing more Washingtonians moving to his state. As out-of-state realtors make their pitches, local brokers are also busy with a surge in inventory. Now, we told you how it was the really expensive homes that were surging in inventory. But according to this article, across the board, residential property listings are up this spring. That trend is expected during the season when many sellers list their homes. But the surge in luxury properties on the market is extraordinary. Beyond Real Estate crunched the latest data released by Northwest Multiple Listing Services. The median home sold in King County is around $850,000. So most of the transactions happening are homes under $2 million. Residential property listings in that category are up 54% from January 1st to May 14th compared to the same time last year. Properties above $2 million in King County surged nearly 84% during the same period. Seattle had 240 homes entering the market in 2025. During the same period, there were 445 residential properties this year. That's an 85% surge in listings. Kirkland Homes more than doubled. Bellevue and Sammamish surged by around 70%, and Redmond hit 77%. Who lives on the east side? Why'd we build that choo-choo train to the east side, my friends? Oh, right, for all them tech workers. Isn't that why we did it? Isn't that why we have this train that nobody rides? Right. For the tech workers that are now listing their homes and leaving town. Tell me again that capital flight isn't happening. Tell me again that the wealthy aren't leaving Washington. This is what we have to do to save our state. We have to save it from the short-sightedness of the Democrats who have already caused so much damage. How long will it be until we undo it? Because here's the thing, my friends, and this is why you still have to work to repeal the income tax. You're thinking to yourself, screw it. Screw all those rich people who are leaving and sticking me with the bill. No, my friends, you don't have to be stuck with the bill. If these Democrats get their way, what happens with the income tax is they're very quickly going to realize that all the wealth left and very, 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 very quickly make it so that this tax applies to everybody. It doesn't have to be this way. If you can stop the income tax, if we can work together to repeal this thing, and get everybody on board with repealing it, then guess what? It's not going to hit you. That's why this is so important. Head on over to letsgowashington.com. Request your signature sheets. If they haven't come already, they will be there soon. They are being mailed out as we speak. And make sure you do your part to repeal the tax that isn't going to just hit millionaires. It's going to hit everybody in the state, including you. Up next, my friends, we have our socialist mayor, Katie Wilson, is mad that the Seattle Police Officers Guild is saying, hey, those cameras actually prevent crime and you got the World Cup coming up. Give you all the details when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show. I love the text I'm getting about Zook's boat. Bob in the 509 says, Ari, we were racing in Tuesday night's Duck Dodge sailboat race when Zuckerberg's 390-foot-long launch pad pulled into the lake and spent 40 minutes backing into its slip. Not only that, there's a 220-foot-long so-called support boat named Wingman that follows it everywhere, also owned by Zuckerberg. The support boat carries the helicopters, jet skis, and other toys that Zuck doesn't want cluttering up the decks of Launchpad. Must be nice. But when I hear that, I think to myself, you know what? It must be nice, but here's something else. How many people are employed by that? Let's do the math here for a second. What? The Launchpad at minimum has a crew of 10. At minimum. I'm sure it's probably a lot more than that. That other boat has a crew of what? 3, 4 probably? So at minimum. So now you're talking about 14, 15 people that have jobs because of Zuck, because of his rich toys. Those are jobs, my friends. That's how the world works. And let me ask you something. Do you think they're being oppressed? Do you think they're down in the boilers shoveling coal into the engines like in Titanic? Do you think that's what's going on? You're working on a super yacht where the client isn't even on board. You think they're not enjoying all the toys? Of course they are. How do I know? I used to do some of this stuff. I used to teach water skiing to very rich children, but they paid me to sit on a boat all day and teach water skiing to very rich children. I made a lot of money in high school and college. I didn't complain. That is a free market economy, my friends. And I got a boat for the summer. That wasn't mine. That somebody else was paying the gas for. It was glorious. Meanwhile, I'm driving into work today, and I noticed that you start seeing some of the fencing is coming down around Westlake Park in downtown Seattle because they've spent millions of dollars redoing it, and they wanted it done in time for the World Cup. Westlake Park. So Westlake Park's where everybody goes to protest and the homeless hang out and get high. Am I missing anything else that happens there? Oh, Christmas. Right. Christmas. There's usually stuff for Christmas and New Year's. There's a few things, right? That's about it.
I think you can get a decent hot dog down there, too.
Well, you can't get Starbucks anymore because that one's closed.
Well, that's darn.
So, okay, you can get that. You can also get hepatitis. You can get a whole bunch of stuff down there at Westlake Park.
Hey, don't knock it. It's pretty tasty on a dog, that old Hep C. Not bad. Kind of tangy.
I'm like, where is he going with this? So I started noticing some of the fencing coming down. And so Business Journal actually has some pictures of what the inside looks like because it's kind of hard to see through the fencing right now. That's all graffitied and messed up because it's Westlake Center, Westlake Park, and there's nobody at the mall really anymore. So what did they do? There used to be this big waterfall, right? It was lovely. Very nice, this waterfall thing that they made in Westlake Park. That's gone now, and it's replaced with a bunch of bushes. So you got rid of the waterfall that the homeless people used to wash themselves in and pee into. So you could have a nice bunch of bushes that the homeless people can pee into and do whatever. Wow. Wonderful. It was such a nice use of our funds. That's really, really fantastic.
Couldn't they have just taken a tip from D.C. and just painted some blue, make it real nice on the bottom of that old
and then fill it in with water and have the reflecting pool.
The reflecting pool.
You could just do that. You can reflect the homeless guy that's above it with the needle in his head. They're giving each other the COVID vaccine. It's great. It's great.
You remember when we were over in Como Plaza?
Yeah.
There was that fountain sometimes.
Sometimes. Very sometimes.
Chief Seattle.
Yeah.
His fountain, it's like, you go over there and you just go like, when is water in this and how does it work? Like,
right. You just look at it and you go, is that due to slave owner?
Yeah,
look at that too. Also.
You go over there and you're like, oh, this water's really gross. And then a month later, you go over there, there's no water.
There's no water. It's gone.
Okay,
who takes care of that thing?
Maybe they're cleaning it up or something. And then another month later, you go back over it. Oh, that disgusting water's back. This is what is going on here.
Yeah, that thing is just disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So I'm really glad we have a new place for the homeless to do their business and leave needles. It's going to be great for the World Cup. Really, really fantastic. Glad we spent all that money on it. Well, also with the World Cup, we know that Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson is refusing to turn the cameras on, which are the safety cameras around here, which they claim they needed because they didn't have enough police officers and they were going to solve the problem with cameras. So now that they spent millions of dollars on the cameras, they're not using the cameras in advance of one of the largest events to hit Seattle in recent memory. Now, Katie Wilson's office is apparently mad because the Seattle Police Officers Guild is calling her out for this nonsense. Give a listen.
The president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild accuses the office of Mayor Katie Wilson of trying to violate the union's right to free speech. Good evening, I'm Preston Phillips.
And I'm Kelly Koopmans. The mayor's office told union leaders to delete a recent social media post that criticized Wilson after a recent triple shooting on Capitol Hill. Jeremy Harris is live with a story you will only see on Como. Jeremy?
Yeah, the Seattle Police Officers Guild has been critical of city leadership for years. Their social media feed is full of that. But one recent post really touched a nerve at the mayor's office, and it now has the police union saying they've been accused of violating the law and police policy. But today their leader says they're not backing down. This was the post from the Seattle Police Officers Guild on May 18th. It featured a video of 3 people being shot outside a busy nightclub with the caption, "Mayor Katie, how many more examples do you need? Don't take away the vital tools officers rely on to identify, locate, and apprehend violent criminals in our city." In reference to surveillance cameras that feed into the city's real-time crime center. The next morning, this email was sent by the mayor's staff to SPOG President Kent Liu, saying the post, quote, appears to violate SPD policy regarding real-time crime center cameras and Seattle Municipal Code that bars recorded information from being used for political purposes, with the instruction, please pull the post immediately. When this line here says, please pull the post immediately, how did you interpret that?
Oh, that's an order. I looked at the content of the email. I thought, well, that sounds like a threat.
But SPOG President Kent Liu says the mayor's office was wrong about where the video came from.
The video was publicly sourced from Como 4, from a post I think you made yourself. And we were very clear up front of where we sourced this video from, again, providing them the public link so they could view it themselves. And in no way do I feel like I'm being unprofessional by alerting the public to a publicly sourced video, pointing to the fact that these work and these capture good data for us.
Do you know why she's going after the Seattle Police Officers Guild? Because they're the punching bag for the mayor's office. She's already having trouble where the city council has turned against her. Take a guy like Rob Saka, who supported her, is now actively working against her over this camera issue. She has enough problems with the city council who she needs to pass her agenda. They know that she is weak. They know she is a national joke, and they all want to get reelected. So none of them want to do her bidding. One of the reasons Katie Wilson shook up her staff is because she's having issues with the council who she needs to pass her agenda. And she thinks a new staff member will fix that, but it won't actually fix that. So what does she do? Well, she can't go after Sean Barnes because Sean Barnes is the woke police chief. All right, let's just go after the Seattle Police Officers Guild. Doesn't matter that Mike Solon retired as this new guy, Ken Liu. We're just going to kick him around for a while. It's just an angry child lashing out for being called out on their bad behavior. She is a child. She is an absolute child, and she can't take any criticism whatsoever. Is she going to do a video soon? One of those little videos where she's like, oh, this is such a controversy. Just watch. That'll be next. Mayor Fivehead will do a little video. Up next, my friends, Kathy Hochul tries to own Trump over the NBA Finals and fails miserably. Then doubles down, then triples down. Just take the L. Just take the L like the Cavaliers did. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. I promised Kevin I was not going to be a bandwagon fan for the Knicks. I've not watched the Knicks since the last time they were in the finals in 1999. This is not an exemption to that rule. This is a how dumb is Kathy Hochul to do this. It's not a Knicks thing.
I know, but just know when they win. Just know if they win.
I'm not going to show up in a jersey. I don't own one. Plus, I don't really have the body build to pull off an old NBA jersey anymore. That would be embarrassing for everybody, I think. I think guys my age who look the way I do should not be wearing basketball jerseys, especially not if you're attempting to play like 3-on-3 at the local JCC. Please don't do that. Please spare all of us. You don't look good. Just because your arms look good from carrying around your fat doesn't mean you look good. Don't do that, okay? I'm saying this as one of you. Anyway, President Trump has discussed possibly attending the NBA Finals. He is a Knicks fan. He's been a Knicks fan for years. He's a New York guy. He's also a Mets fan, by the way. Goes to Yankee games, but he is a Mets fan. How do I know that? His family's brick on the fan walk outside the stadium next to my family's brick. That's right. I have famous VIP brick setting. Anywho, so today Kathy Hochul was asked about this, and somebody clearly gave her the answer for this, but they gave her the wrong answer.
What do you think of him saying he's a lifelong Knicks fan? I think that's how the Times reported it.
I asked him to name the starting lineup from 1993 championship team and see how he does.
Okay, Kathy, lady, or whichever staffer came up for that because you knew you were going to get asked that question. The Knicks lost to the Bulls in 1993, 1994. Did you not see the documentary on Netflix about all the years the Bulls won? I know, because I was watching that game in middle school at a friend's bar mitzvah. They hauled in these giant TVs and projectors because it was the 1990s, and we didn't have cell phones in our pockets where we could watch all this kind of stuff. It was a to-do to get that giant TV in the room for the bar mitzvah so we could all watch the Knicks and not be enjoying the bar mitzvah, or rather, enjoying the bar mitzvah more. They were so worried about people not coming to the bar mitzvah, they brought the TV in so we could watch our Knicks get killed against the Bulls. Her office, rather than admitting she was wrong. This is from Governor Hochul's official New York governor press office. She was baiting Trump into pretending that team won the finals. A classic 4D chess move. I'm sorry, do you really expect anybody to believe this? The Knicks lost to the Bulls in 93. The Knicks haven't been to the finals since 99. The last time the Knicks won the finals was 73. I haven't followed the Knicks in literally 30 years, but I knew those stats without even checking. I knew those stats offhand without even checking. And your staffer, whoever screwed that up, so you're saying it's 4D chess? Meanwhile, Trump's like, he's pulling a Thanos. I don't even know who you are. He didn't even know this was going on. And that's your go-to? Wait, gets better. One of the guys from RNC Research found this old clip. It's Trump at the finals in the 90s. Excuse me, not the finals. It's in the conference finals in the 90s to watch the Knicks. Now, you're going to hear some weird beeping. That's because they were getting a weather alert in New York over this broadcast. This is an NBC broadcast from that season, and Trump comes and surprises one of the anchors for his birthday.
It's an incredible week at Madison Square Garden, the NBA Finals, then Game 7 for the Stanley Cup on Tuesday. And how appropriate that Marv Albert would be working an NBA Finals game on this, his birthday. And we can't tell you how pleased we are that all of you folks, millions of you around the country, can be with us tonight as we celebrate for the 8th consecutive year Marv's 43rd birthday. Mazel tov, Marvelous.
Bob, thank you. Thank you so much. The staff doing its research, obviously, man.
Hey, look who's sneaking up behind him.
I'm just emotionally
I recognize that hair anywhere.
43. Oh, it's your good friend Donald Trump, man.
Donald,
yes.
My business partner.
What does this say? Walk on. That's very nice. Marla, thank you very much. Thank you.
Were you around for the last?
That's Ivana, by the way. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's Marla. Which one is it? I forget the one. Which one is it?
Very nice.
I think it's Marla.
I think it's Marla. That's Marla.
Well, as we were saying.
Yeah. So, literally, Donald Trump and his wife are there at the game. They're at the game saying, nice job. Happy birthday, Marv Albert. Fantastic. I forget which one is there. But anyway, he's there with his wife at the game, Kathy Hochul. And you're saying he hasn't been a Knicks fan all these years. Like the Cavaliers, just take the L. Just take the L. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's going on?
There's a lot of things, but let's start with Seattle and their crime problem. I mean, I can't, I'm not surprised that Katie Wilson is got this problem with surveillance cameras in downtown Seattle where everybody's walking around, won't turn them on to protect the public. I wish Councilmember Rob Saka was the mayor of Seattle. And,
I don't. I don't. You know why? He supported Katie Wilson. So now he can say whatever he wants, but he knew this was coming. He talked about how great she was. So he can put on whatever shirts he wants from whatever bombings, and that's tragic and sad. But it's a good thing that he survived, and I wish no ill will towards anybody. But he supported Katie Wilson, Joe.
Oh, my God.
And here's
I'm
something
sorry.
else, Joe. We have reached out to his office multiple times to ask him to come on the show. And guess whose office never gets back to us?
Rob Saka. And I also want to thank you for the public service you provide people with your journalism, because you saved me, probably my life, because I canceled a Airbnb reservation in North Aurora because of all these people now have to put up barriers to stop gun battles. And I just wish that I was the mayor of Seattle, because I'd borrow some A-10 Warthogs and resolve these gun battles very, very quickly.
Well, Joe, I mean, that's funny, but I would vote for you as mayor of Seattle before Katie Wilson or Rob Saka. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Up next, my friend, Supergirl hasn't even been released yet, but the lead of the movie may have just blown up her own movie. We'll tell you what's going on when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Just want to remind everybody before we get into the woke insanity, we are running 2 contests this week. So today, you get a chance to win a pair of tickets to an advanced screening of Disclosure Day at AMC South Center on June 8th. Just head on over to KVI.com to enter to win this pair of tickets to Steven Spielberg's latest release. That's only at KVI.com, KVI.com. So actress Millie Alcock is the one who's playing Supergirl in the upcoming Supergirl movie. Actually had my sister-in-law reach out to me today asking what I thought about the trailer for the Supergirl movie. And I said, I'm not interested in seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Supergirl because this is a James Gunn production. But I did note that I liked the last Superman, which he did, so maybe I'll be surprised because originally I looked at the trailers about the new Superman, and I was kind of like, meh. I ended up really enjoying it. So I was willing to give it a chance. I was. However, what we know from this weekend, we know that The Mandalorian brought in some money, and it'll probably do okay, but these movies ain't making what they used to. So people are concerned that Supergirl, if it doesn't do well, especially when you finally have Lobo, who's the sort of bad guy in this movie, right? You've got Lobo, played by Aquaman, because he loves DC so much. You've got the Lobo in there. That if this doesn't do well, do people really have cape fatigue? So I wonder if this story is her preemptively blaming somebody for the failure of the movie. And I think by now, people would learn when you open your mouth, you screw up the chances of your own movie doing well. Just a thought. Look at Snow White. Just putting that out there. That movie was bad and made worse by her dumb comments. I know. I saw it in theaters. Stupid. I went just for the experience. So she spoke to Variety last week, and they asked her about backlash ahead of the film's release. And you know what a normal person would say? I'm very proud of it. I think it's going to be great. Come to the theaters and have a great time and see Supergirl on the big screen.
I understand that this might not be some people's cup of tea. You can say that.
Sure.
I understand if you don't want to see it. I get it. But
it's a new take on an old story.
Yeah.
You like that Superman movie? I'm very proud of it. We're trying something new because I really didn't like that Helen Slater movie because it was terrible or whatever. You don't have to bash Helen Slater, but which is against Supergirl. It was awful. Don't watch it. Just don't. Anyway.
Is that the one from the 80s or whatever?
Yeah.
It's the same guys that were doing the 80s Superman. Like it was tied into that. It was the same production company.
It looks the same, but it's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Kathleen Turner's on that. Anywho, she says instead, I guess women know that this is how it's always been, unfortunately. Oh, here we go. And it's from a lot of people whose profiles have no photo, who are burner accounts, or someone's name, and then dad of 4, Christian, which is hilarious to me. You could have said, look, it's nameless, faceless accounts. I don't give them much credit. You had to say the last part. So now you've pissed off the dad army, the Christian dad army. And then she says, but I mean, whose opinion do you really care about? If you're pissing the right kind of people off, you're doing okay. All right, who are the ones who usually buy comic books for their kids, who usually take their kids to the superhero movie? You know how hard it was for me to find people to go see The Mandalorian with me because my kids aren't in town? So, you're ticking off the very people you want to come see your movie? Not smart. Now watch, they're going to blame it on this. Just watch. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, including more fraud, waste, and abuse found at DCYF here in Washington. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless. Streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Congressman Adam Smith weighs in on political violence, and Brian Haywood talks to us about the record-shattering signature collections. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I want to remind you that today we are giving away a chance for you to win tickets to the Roy Rodeo. That's right. You can win a pair of tickets to the Roy Rodeo this Saturday or Sunday. Kevin and young Zach are going to be out there on Saturday. I'm going to be out there on Sunday wearing my cowboy boots. It'll be very exciting. Hat is optional. All you have to do in order to be entered to win these fantabulous prizes is text the word Hank, as in our sister station, Hank FM, H-A-N-K, as in King of the Hill. I think the guy's name is Hank. I never even watched the show. H-A-N-K, right? Text the word Hank. Over.
As in Crank the Hank.
Oh, I said that already.
Did you say Crank the Hank?
No, I didn't say that. I said as in Hank FM.
Well, that's their slogan.
Yeah, Crank the Hank.
Yeah,
okay, all
Crank the
right.
Hank.
Our sister station, who will be out at the Roy Rodeo with us as well. Text the word Hank, H-A-N-K, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from the 425. I love that the texts we're getting today are all about Zook's boat. That seems to be everybody's obsession today. Ari, this is from the 425. I wouldn't want the yacht even if I had billions. First, the slip and personnel costs are likely millions every year. Fact check, true. There's an old line an accountant friend gave me, which I can't say on air, but basically, if it floats and if it flies and if it does something else, rent it. Says, second, I would think it requires shipmaster's license to drive it. That is correct. I am a common man, not knowing what it is like to have people. All I have is me, myself, and I, and they're idiots. Oh, don't do that to yourself, 405. But people should appreciate those that have billions to spend, says Tim, because guess what? Tim's right. If they have the money to spend, then guess what? They will buy the stuff you are selling. And actually, I got to tell you this. I have the license under the big ship that he has. I have that license. And I will tell you, getting the big ship license, the hardest part of it is parking. But with nowadays, with all the different thrusters they have, it's actually not that hard. The hardest thing is when you're responsible for somebody else's toy not getting any scratches on it. Have you seen the bumpers they have for that boat? They're like the size of SUVs, those suckers. They're massive, so it doesn't get dinged up. Some people are theorizing that it's coming to town for the World Cup. They think Zook's going to be here for the World Cup. That's what they're saying. I don't know these things. I don't know who's coming to town. This one here, this one says, I live in Port Orchard, and I work over by Snoqualmie. Now it looks like I'm going to take the trip to Seattle. Oh, a lot of people are mentioning, by the way, there's some backups on 18 because of a fatality accident. Guys, if you find out anything more about this, please let me know. Please let me know. This one here, Ari, you were bragging about the Hoffman family paver tile being next to the Trump family tile in New York. El Darthbo says he has his name on the Hollywood Walk of Stars. He says not his real name, but his AKA. He says there's a shopping mall called Hollywood Paradise, a suburb of Adelaide, and the state capital of South Australia. And there in big bold letters, it lays for everyone to walk all over. Don't you just love it? Yes. And homeless people to lie down on. I hear the Walk of Stars is quite a sight to behold. Anyway, switching gears over to what's happening here in Washington. We all know that the Washington Department of Children, Youth, and Families is having massive questions over the fact that billions of dollars are unaccounted for. There's no oversight. They can't even audit a bunch of this stuff. Well, now newly obtained records by the Center Square reveal that a whistleblower directly warned DCYF Secretary Tana Sen last year about alleged major theft occurring inside a state-run juvenile detention facility, and nothing happened. According to records obtained by the Center Square, through a public disclosure request, the whistleblower contacted Sen in June of 2025, alleging that the theft at Enco Glen Juvenile Rehabilitation Facility was occurring with the knowledge of DCYF personnel and was being actively covered up. So they knew there was a problem at the youth juvenile detention facility, and they did nothing about it. Now, for those of you who may not have heard of Echo Glen before. Echo Glen is where they send the worst of the worst kids, like the murderers and the really bad felons that you don't want to have out in the wild. This place has had, Kevin, do we get an escape like once a month from that place? It sure seems like that. Get escapes all the time, badly run, allegations of abuse or this, that, and the other thing. I mean, you got people who work there doing bad things. This place is a disaster, train wreck disaster.
Every time I hear its name, I think of a golf course.
There's an Echo Glen golf course?
No, it just sounds like a golf course.
Oh, I always think of Echo One.
I used to work at Echo Falls Golf Course.
Okay.
So it's like, I think there's it's Echo Glen. I think there's a Glen golf course. It just always reminds me of a golf course. Then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not a golf course.
Oh, I think Echo One. This is Echo One.
Oh, yeah.
Commander Skywalker, you out
sure.
there. Captain Solo. I'm thinking of that speeder music right now as they're zipping over the Hoth Tundra looking for Luke Skywalker and curled up inside his dead Tauntaun. By the way, they don't sell that sucker anymore. I tried to get it for my kids. The Tauntaun sleeping bag. You ever see that? Oh, it's funny. Anywho, moving back to this. According to the records, Echo Glen, which is located in Snoqualmie, is Washington's medium to maximum security juvenile rehabilitation center, housing female offenders up to age 25 and male offenders up to age 18. The facility has faced years of criticism over security failures, staffing shortages, escapes, and assaults. Oh, sign me up. I want to work there. The records reportedly show Sen met with the whistleblower in person multiple times and expressed interest in learning more about the allegations. So a follow-up message the next month referenced that the whistleblower was being deposed. The allegations emerge as DCYF is already under intense scrutiny following a series of state audits exposing massive oversight and accountability failures involving child care subsidy programs. Time out for a second. Has anybody seen Tana Sen anywhere since all these fraud allegations came to life? I think I saw her on the back of a milk box. Have we seen the director of DCYF anywhere? Ever? Do we ever see her? Do we ever hear from her? These scandals are aplenty, and yet she's never available. I saw, what was it, Future 42, one of those guys, made a graphic, Where's Tana Sen, and they put her in a Where's Waldo costume. I think you should put her in a Carmen Sandiego. Where in the world is Tana Sen? Where are we going to find her? Put her in that red hat and red trench coat. Figure out where she is. So, as previously reported, the Washington State Auditor's Office found more than $1.3 billion in child care spending between 2021 and 2024 was effectively unauditable because DCYF failed to maintain proper provider-level records. Auditors later identified approximately $37 million in questionable child care payments involving unsupported billing, missing attendance records, and weak verification systems. So if all this is happening with the regular schools, what do you think's going on with the juvenile detention facilities, huh? Despite these concerns, Democrats, including Attorney General Nick Brown, Seattle Mayor Katie Wilson, repeatedly dismissed fraud allegations and criticized independent journalists investigating the programs. So how much worse are these problems? According to the Center Square, the Washington State Auditor's Office said it had not received any reports from DCYF regarding the loss of public funds tied to the Echo Glen allegations and did not currently have an open case related to the matter. So what were you testifying about? What was the whistleblower testifying about? If they weren't testifying about this, or better yet, what happened to the deposition? Hey, Tana Sen, are you listening? Tana Sen, are you out there? Can we find you? Do I need the guys from Rockapella to make up a song about Tana Sen? Where in the world is... Like, we could do that. I'm sure through AI, we could have young Zach make one of those. I'd probably be the only one who enjoys it. We go to the KVI studio line, take a call from Gabe in Tumwater. Gabe, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. Want to tell you I love your show. I listen to it every day coming home from work.
Thank you.
You have the two facilities mixed up, Green Hill and Echo Glen. Green Hill is where the worst of the worst go. That's where all the female staffers sleeping with residents.
Ah,
Echo Glen,
they're all
under 14. So they're under 14. They have women there. So.
Thank you for the clarification, Gabe. I'm okay admitting when I'm wrong. I'm sorry. These things, both these facilities are in the news so often that I apologize for mixing them up. I'm sorry.
That's no problem.
Okay. Are you aware of any of these issues that might be at any of these facilities by chance?
Well, I quit Green Hill about 5 years ago to work for Department of Corrections. So I know how things were when I was there.
Yeah.
They pretty much let the residents dictate the programs, and it's gotten much worse. Staff are being assaulted. Other staff are kind of just standing there watching, not really interfering. I know this because I saw a video of it. So it's it's a terrible place now. Green Hill is.
And I assume most of the staff is probably trying to find ways out to other lines of work, right?
Well, pretty much everybody that I worked with has gone. Either they retired out or most of them quit other jobs. It became so unsafe.
Yeah.
When I worked there, you could put hands on residents, put them in rooms, and now it seems like they're teaching them just to kind of gently coax them into the rooms, which most of these guys don't want to be coaxed.
Right, that's why they're at Echo Glen in the first place, right? Or Green Hill. Green Hill or any of these places. That's why they're there in the first place. Well, Gabe, God bless you. Thank you for the work that you do, and thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757.
I almost said something to you as well, because I used to live down by Green Hill, and whenever we were acting up, my parents would, when we were driving by, would go, I'll just drive the car right there and drop you off. So stop doing what you're doing.
We'll just put you right there. My brother-in-law likes to say that when he was a kid, he told me this. I wasn't around because, he was 18 when I met him. But he likes to say that he would say that if he didn't like what his parents were doing, he would say, I'm going to call DCYF on you. And the parents are like, go ahead. Be my guest. You want to go to one of those facilities? Go right ahead. We go back to the KVI studio line. Take a call from Bob in Everett. Bob, what's going on?
Hey, Ari. So while the mismanagement of the money is bad, the part that fundamentally bothers me and keeps me awake at night is nobody talks about all the abuse that DCYF allows.
Yep. I mean, weren't they sued for that a couple of years ago? Didn't they lose a massive lawsuit about that a couple of years ago?
I will neither confirm nor deny what I'm about to say is true. However, it would not shock you, I think, that DCYF decided to give a child back to a parent who openly laughed about their drug use in court.
Oh, my God. You know what? If that was the worst thing I heard, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. But there are so many things I've heard that were exponentially worse than that. We've heard about them giving these kids back to drug addicts. Yeah.
No. I'll throw you another one. DCYF took a kid that was covered head to toe in red marks that screamed abuse and said, oh, it's a virus, after having him examined 3 days later.
A virus. Yeah, this doesn't surprise
me at all. And all the marks were gone by that. I had a doctor ready to sign off on everything, and his lawyer told him not to because it opened it up to a potential lawsuit.
Yeah, so when you hear something about a deposition that nobody's seen of, heard of, an investigation nobody's seen of, heard of, that's about par for course for what you know?
Yep, and unfortunately, your buddy Jim Walsh is one of those people who does nothing.
So I'll tell you what.
To his office
Hang on a second, Bob.
I could not get anything.
Hang on a second. Why don't we ask him on the show? Why don't I ask him on the show to ask him about this? I'm more than happy to reach out to him. I'll tell you what, Bob, I'll make you a deal, okay? You can email me whatever you have, ari@kvi.com. I'll keep your information confidential. You can email me whatever you have, and I will call him up and have him on the show and ask him about it.
All right. I will hold you to that, Ari. Thank you.
You got it, man. No problem. Yeah, appreciate you being part of the show. Remember, ari@kvi.com. That's ari@kvi.com. Bob, thanks for the call. Thanks for the tips. Thanks for the information. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. So, local officials aren't doing anything about fraud whatsoever, but there was a cabinet meeting today where you had people reporting on the various fraud that they have found. Kelly Loeffler, she's the administrator for the U.S. Small Business Administration. This is what she told POTUS and everybody else in the cabinet was the kind of stuff they were finding.
Mr. President, you have made us a nation of builders again. You're leading us to the greatest economy that the world has ever known. And I see that every week as I travel this country, main streets across dozens of states, from Alaska to Maine. I've been in many of those states 2 or 3 times. I hear it everywhere I go. Please thank the president for putting us back on track. They thank you. They love you. They want more of what we're doing: tax cuts, deregulation, fair trade, energy dominance. Small businesses are spring-loaded, and we see that in the jobs numbers. In the last 2 months alone, we've created over 300,000 private sector jobs in this country. Most jobs are created by small businesses, 2 out of 3. And small businesses, as you know, make up 99% of all businesses in this country and account for half of our GDP. So when that part of the economy is finally working again, they've gotten out from $5 trillion of regulation that the Biden administration put on hardworking small businesses. They penalized growth, investment, hard work, and success. But thanks to the working family tax cuts that every single Democrat voted against, hardworking families, the welders, the waitresses that I meet on factory floors across this country, from Pennsylvania to New Mexico, where I'll be tomorrow. Brooke and I are going to Arizona tonight. So we see this everywhere we go. It's one of the most underreported stories in the media. Main Street is back, and that's because America first. I'll tell you the other thing about fraud. Small businesses are particularly hurt by the fraud because they're some of our biggest taxpayers in the country. And they show up every day. They work hard to provide for their employees, to build their businesses. They're doing it the honest way. And they see fraudsters taking from the American people. It's taxpayer money. And so you think about, at the SBA, we found $200 billion in fraudulent PPP loans that the Biden administration tried to hide and forgive and sweep under the rug. We've turned the first $22 billion of that over to Treasury for collections and to DOJ for prosecution. Our Inspector General is already announcing that people are going to jail. There are jail sentences now being served. We've announced that 140,000 people have been barred from ever getting SBA loans again, defrauding the government for about $9 billion. So we are going to continue our work under the great leadership of Vice President Vance and appreciate the partnership because it's really accelerated our ability to get the job done. But then just back to small businesses. We have record business formation in this country. That's another story that the media won't tell you. Over 500,000 businesses on average a month this year. So it's not just record people working, strong job creation, business formation at all-time records in this country. But we have manufacturing expansion, 4 consecutive months. That means that's a leading indicator, meaning that we have expansion coming. Another story the media won't tell you, 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. 75% of our defense industrial base is small business. They're our main exporters. And so America first, free trade, fair trade, deregulation, tax cuts, and energy dominance is helping workers on Main Street. And that's why they tell you to tell me to tell you, Mr. President, thank you, and they love you.
That's a lot to unpack there for a second. So let's start with this. They're investigating the fraud. They're prosecuting the fraud. Here in Washington, they're taxing you to give more money to the fraudsters. She talked about businesses being created. Well, they're fleeing Washington State. As we mentioned today, we found out about another one. The Genie Company is closing up one of their facilities, the guys who make those lifts. How many other businesses are leaving that we don't even know about yet? I have a big one that somebody's been emailing me about, and they said they don't want the PR till they're gone because they don't want to be penalized. And I'm really curious who this is because they won't tell me who it is. They're sending me the emails, but they said, I got 2 more weeks and they will tell me who it is. That's when they're out of Washington. I am so curious. They asked me not even to search their names because they don't even want me figuring out who they are. I'm going to abide by their wishes. But then there's something else, the employment numbers. The national unemployment is going down. Hiring is going up. And it's all private businesses. It's not the government. Even with the government firing tons of people, laying off tons of people, the unemployment numbers are going down. The employment numbers are going up. And yet that's not what's happening here in Washington. So let me go to Axios, which is definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. Seattle may see a little meaningful job growth through the end of 2027, according to a recent city forecast. Really? Where? They said a prolonged slowdown wouldn't hit just workers and businesses. It would also create pressure on Seattle's coffers, which increasingly rely on taxes tied to office values, business activity, and high-paying jobs for revenue, according to the city's April economic report. So there's not going to be any job growth. Little meaningful job growth, which means none at all. The city's forecast points to warning signs of a significant structural shift in Seattle's economy. Potentially major change for the region whose economy is long dependent on aggressive hiring by major tech employers. So what you're saying is people aren't hiring. Office values are continuing to fall. Office vacancy continues to go up. Construction sector taxable sales fell 4.4%. Seattle's payroll expense tax, the thing that chased out Amazon, forecast was revised down by more than $50 million over the last 3 years. Regional employment would fall 2.7% between 2026 and 2027 before even recovering. So while the national unemployment is going down and employment is going up, we're doing the complete opposite. Nice job, Democrats. Nice job, Bob Ferguson. Really, well done, everybody. You're really killing it. And by that, I mean the Washington economy. You going to blame Trump for this? Because it's working out well everywhere else except for here. Lots more to discuss, including how to actually turn these things around. When we come back, record-breaking numbers to repeal Turd Ferguson's income tax, the Democrats' unconstitutional income tax. The founder of Let's Go Washington, Brian Haywood, will be joining us next to tell us how you can get your signature sheets, but also the massive success that they are seeing. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. My friends, I don't get to do good news often here on the show, except for that one little teeny tiny segment at the end of the show. But today we have some great news. In under a week, Let's Go Washington has collected close to 100,000 signatures against the income tax. That means if they continue on this course with your help, by the end of the month, we'll be on our way to repealing Bob Ferguson and the Democrats' unconstitutional income tax. Joining us now to discuss, the founder of Let's Go Washington, the one and only Brian Haywood. Thanks for being with us today, buddy.
My pleasure, and good afternoon, and thanks to all your listeners for being on the ball.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So first of all, I want to clear this up right now. You guys did this with just people going out and collecting signatures. In fact, the mailers haven't even gone out yet with the ones going to people's houses, which they requested online. Is that correct?
That's right. We had 10,000 requests, and they're still in the mail. So the U.S. Postal Service is, I'm sure, doing its fastest to get them out there. But none of those really have hit anybody's hands yet. This is just people in front of stores. And to give you a comparison, we did last year, remember, we did the initiative to stop the natural gas ban. And that had this incredible response. In our first week, we got 65,000 signatures, and we were just ecstatic at that number. This week, we thought we were doing well, and we'd been hearing good things, and it came back smashing at 92,000. Is how many we got back this week. And everyone that's gathering just says it's candy from a baby. Like, people are just walking up, asking to sign. They don't have to convince them. They don't have to tell them. They know.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I'm guessing these are all bots, right? That's what the Democrats are going to say next?
100%. They're bots. Exactly.
Because that's what they said over public testimony.
Bots coming to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So we saw that today. Bob Ferguson, governor of Washington, from his personal social media account, said that he welcomes the citizen action. I said, well, that's complete BS, given how much he did to try and circumvent the voters, attaching an emergency clause, not doing this as a constitutional amendment. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg of the things he has done to try and stop voters from having their way. What was your reaction to seeing Bob Ferguson's social media post? Because I think he's scared.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think they recognize, I think it was damage control, right? There's a couple of things. If they really believed, hey, the voters have a right to have a say on this, they could have let a referendum happen. Like, it's so incredibly dishonest for them to say, oh, no, the voters are going to get a vote on it. We just don't want it to happen by referendum. That's illegal. That's just, one, that's ridiculous. Number two, I don't think in their little circles that they go around in where everyone's like, oh, I'm for an income tax, I'm for an income tax, I don't think they talk to real people. And they don't understand that people that are not going to be hit by $1 million exemption right now are saying, I don't believe them. I think it's coming to me. And that is overwhelming. This 92,000 signatures we got, I would suspect that very few of them are going to be hit in the first year. They just don't trust the governor.
Yeah, I completely agree.
The last thing, it feels a lot like Bob Ferguson's just putting lipstick on a pig, right? He's got this thing. They've got to spin it. It's way more popular than they thought. I think they were thinking it was going to have some blowback, and it's not.
Well, also, that leads me to my next question. We're talking with Brian Haywood from Let's Go Washington. So have the signature gatherers been getting attacked or harassed like they were the past few times? Because I haven't seen the videos I usually see over that kind of stuff, or do I just not know it's happening?
No, there's a big difference. Last time, there was some really mentally unstable people that were coming out and screaming at them. But this time, there's been one attack that I've seen, and it was in Sammamish, and it was the Sammamish City Council member, Pam Stewart, apparently, that came out and hassled and tried to chase people away and really interfere with a couple of signature gatherers out in Sammamish. And she, interestingly, Pam Stewart, where have I heard that name from before? Where's that name I've heard before? She's the one that was out there that was rude and didn't include you in the complaint, but was right.
Yes, I love being part of PDC complaints. I'm so upset they left me out of it. Yes,
it's wonderful, wonderful. We'll make sure you're in the club next time.
Yeah,
So she's the one that's out there screaming so far.
Gotcha. So just to be clear for our audience who may not get the inside joke, just a couple weeks ago, a Public Disclosure Commission complaint was filed against Brian, against Let's Go Washington, and against Brandy Cruz, claiming Brandy's not allowed to have an opinion and support things she supports, and committed campaign finance violations by talking about keeping boys out of girls' sports, parental rights, you name it, all these initiative things. Now, mind you, what was incredible to me was that they had a press conference when the paperwork hadn't even been investigated yet. And yet, Brian, I don't know if you saw this, but we found out yesterday that there's this whole investigation ongoing with the PDC into Sean Scott, who's a sitting representative of the Washington State Legislature, his possible links to this website, which was demonizing his then opponent, Andrea Suarez, for We Heart Seattle and the group that she runs. I didn't see any Seattle Times articles about that. I didn't see any press conferences about that. Where do you think Jim Brunner is right now?
Well, he just texted me asking about the 92,000, so he's on his phone, but he's not writing an article about this. Well, that's, and I think all of them, like the claim that they made by this group, any Seattle Times has the climate lab, right? All they did was one big, huge contribution to the people that were opposing our CCA repeal. This is a really crazy precedent. I don't think it has any hope of going through, but that's the tactics, right? That's the tactics. And they're people that hang out and have fun with Bob Ferguson. They're union thugs. They're union bought and paid for. And really, if people want to know, like, people are upset with Bob Ferguson. They're upset with Jamie Peterson, and rightly so. But those guys are total SEIU 775 sock puppets. That's the controlling agency right now in Washington State. I would argue the WA is right there. They're holding hands with them, but Bob Ferguson is the handmaid of SEIU 775. This is a handmaid's tale in Washington State.
Yeah, I would agree, because they talk about, we're not getting donations from big corporations. I said, you know how much money those unions have? You get money from big unions. So it's ridiculous to claim that. Plus, given the fact that he took money from corporations in every other campaign he had. In the last few minutes, we have with Brian Haywood from Let's Go Washington. So I know you guys usually do breakdowns of how people align politically who are signing your initiatives. It's a little early because it's only been 1 week, but it seems to me there is broad, overwhelming support. But also the fact that we live in Washington State, which is majority blue, you're talking about a 60-40 split. Are you seeing the same thing with the signatures?
We saw, this is really preliminary. Just the first run we looked at with the first couple of days was about a 55-45 split, Republican versus Democrat independent. And I think that's going to even out. My suspicion is that it'll be closer to 50-50 as we move forward. Those are the really enthusiastic people moving first.
Gotcha. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. And I know, for example, there's a lot of my friends who are saying, how can we sign? I know that when I was out at that signature gathering event out in Bellevue the other day, friends of mine, old colleagues of mine, came out to sign that thing who disagree with me politically, but they said, this is insane. We need to stop it. Brian Haywood from Let's Go Washington, give us that website one time if people want to request those signature sheets so they can have them mailed to their house.
Let'sGoWA.com. Let'sGoWA.com. And they can find signing locations and or ask for sheets, and we'll get them shipped to them. I think we need to get them turned in by June. We need everybody to send their stuff back to us by June 28th, and then we give it to the Secretary of State by July 2nd.
I'm very excited for that picture of all those boxes being turned in. Brian Haywood, thank you so much for fighting so hard on behalf of all of us here in Washington. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate all you're doing.
Oh, we appreciate everything you do. I feel like I'm just a little cog in this machine. But thank you, sir. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder that today we are giving away a pair of tickets to an advanced screening of Steven Spielberg's new movie, Disclosure Day. It's going to be on June 8th out at AMC South Center. Now, if you want to enter to win these fantabulous prizes, head on over to KVI.com. That's KVI.com. Enter all your information for your chance to win. Remember, you can only do this through the website. This is not one of our text or call to win contests. You can only do this through the website. So head on over to KVI.com for your chance to win tickets to see Disclosure Day, Steven Spielberg's newest movie, out at AMC South Center on June 8th. So remember we told you that it wasn't just DCYF that had fraud or all these other agencies, that it was also the King County Regional Homeless Authority? Remember we told you millions of dollars unaccounted for. They're admitting that $13 million is overspent and unaccounted for, which means there's a lot more. Well, what's fascinating to me is that I keep seeing these reports that maybe instead of shutting down this thing that has been problematic from day one, that has been ripe with scandal, now with fraud, that everybody said would be a colossal failure, that no matter how much money they pour into homelessness, it's only gotten worse. I see lefty bloggers, lefty outlets calling for reform. Let's just reform the thing. They're giving the out to Katie Wilson, Gurmay Zahalai, and all the other corrupt council members who put this thing into place in the first place. So I'm just going to read this from Cairo 7. After an audit found nearly $13 million unaccounted for or overspent at the King County Regional Homeless Authority, leaders say they've started to find some of that money through processes they have created to address its financial issues. Wow! Bravo! Bravo! What, you want a pat on the back or something? This is like when Jay Inslee said that they were able to get back some of the funds the Nigerian scammers stole from the unemployment division after he ordered that restrictions be taken off the accounts that limited fraud, that stopped fraud. We got some of the money back. Look what I did. We got back some of the money I lost. So why weren't those safeguards in place originally? Why weren't these processes in place originally? Should be thinking about that. On May 22nd, the King County Regional Homeless Authority released its corrective action report, categorizing the issues as internal, a product of its creation during the pandemic, or issues that need support from outside the agency. Do you know what this is? This is everybody at the King County Regional Homeless Authority trying to save their jobs. And you know what? Dumb Democrats like Katie Wilson will say, yeah, the King County Regional Homeless Authority just hasn't been done right yet. They are giving them an out. See, what she or Gurmay Zahalai or both probably said to the King County Regional Homeless Authority, guys, we like this grift. We like this grift and we don't want to go away, but now you've kind of outed us. So if you can give us a way, just a smidgen, a little scintilla of hope that we can make this thing successful, we'll back you. We'll back you. So you release your little report. That way the media carries the water for all of you. The media does all the water carrying. They say, oh, look, they've changed this time. They've changed, even though it's been 6 years, they've accomplished nothing. Multiple fraudulent issues, multiple issues with scandal, multiple issues with directors. You name it, they've had problems with it. This time we're going to get it right. This time, that's what it is. Mark my words, this is going to be used as the out. Just watch. King County Regional Homeless Authority pays service providers for contracts, and King County Regional Homeless Authority gives invoices to Seattle and King County for reimbursement. So what do you need them for? Why can't Seattle and King County just give out the money? I mean, look, it's not going to homeless people anyway. So why can't they do it? Why do you need a whole other agency? King County Regional Homeless Authority is also still designated recipient of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development grants, which can total tens of millions of dollars each year, adding to the complexity of the organization. I got to make sure that my friends over at HUD actually got my emails about this, because now these guys are trying to wiggle their way out of it. I think it's because we haven't seen anything from HUD yet. You have King County Regional Homeless Board co-chair, otherwise known as the King County Executive, Gurmay Zahalai, said an organization of this size absolutely should have had those controls in place from the beginning. See, it's already starting. We're just going to put these controls in place, and then everything will be fine. King County Regional Homeless Authority owns its internal failures. The region must jointly fix the shared operating model. See what I mean? They're going to claim, no, let's not shut it down. Oh, and here, my favorite. The corrective report says there was no regular or predictable timeline for King County Regional Homeless Authority to be reimbursed from the city and the county, and calls for regular meetings in order to create a timeline externally. So now they're putting the blame on everybody who set this thing up rather than the people who actually run it. We accept all the blame, but they're to blame. Okay, this thing needs to be abolished. This thing needs to go bye-bye, and along with it, all the money that's allocated towards it can go to better things. It's going to waste right now because the more money they spend on homelessness, the worse it gets in our area. Just watch. Guaranteed, this is going to be what they use for the way out. I guarantee it. Don't say I didn't warn you. Up next, my friends, UCLA is in hot water with the Justice Department. Could University of Washington be next? We'll give you all details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. UCLA is in hot water because the Department of Justice is suing them, accusing the university of allowing Jewish and Israeli students to be assaulted, blocked from campus buildings, driven from parts of the campus during anti-Israel protests that erupted after the October 7th massacre. Protests were ongoing at UCLA in 2024, where pro-Hamas students set up encampments, trained themselves in hand-to-hand combat, and refused to let Jewish students walk through. Who does this sound like to you? Anybody remember anything like this happening around here? It wasn't just UW. It was happening at Western and a few other places too. Sounds familiar. I don't remember the hand-to-hand combat. I remember them having hand-to-hand combat. I don't remember them training in hand-to-hand combat around here. The lawsuit, filed by the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division in the Central District of California, alleges UCLA violated Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 by failing to protect Jewish and Israeli students from anti-Semitic harassment and violence on campus. According to the complaint, anti-Semitic incidents at UCLA escalated dramatically after Hamas terrorists attacked Israel on October 7, 2023. Federal officials allege Jewish and Israeli students were assaulted, excluded from campus spaces, and denied equal access to educational opportunities because of their heritage or national origin. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I remember seeing at least 4 videos out of UCLA where this was happening. And at the time I said, tell me again that anti-Zionism isn't anti-Semitism. And everyone's like, it's not. They're totally different. Really? Really? Spare me. That's exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. In fact, just today, it took a non-Jewish host on CNBC calling this out and admitting what so many Democrats are afraid to admit.
I think I can ask this question this way. Do you think there's a distinction between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism?
Zionism gives the left an out to be anti-Semitic, in my view. Out in the open about it. So it's no longer skinheads on these terrible right people, these conservative. So every college campus, every newspaper, everyone can be anti-Semitic by hanging this ridiculous label that it's anti-Zionist.
Well, so let me ask you,
that's just you understand what I'm saying?
I understand. I have a different one.
And I think you give them an excuse way too much. And I'm not Jewish, so I have no skin in the game here. I'm a Zionist, but I'm not Jewish.
Let me ask you a different question. But these are the real issues in terms of just how people are thinking around the country right now.
That ever since the war started, you worried about the perception.
I am worried about the perception.
After October 7th.
Let me ask you a question.
Why is it so hard to admit that? Why is it so hard to admit that? Assistant Attorney General Harmeet K. Dillon, friend of the show, who is actually going to be joining us on Monday, by the way, to talk about what's going on at University of Washington. She said earlier this year we sued UCLA for subjecting its Jewish and Israeli employees to an anti-Semitic hostile work environment. Now the Department of Justice calls UCLA to account for its toleration of the equally appalling, hostile educational environment against its Jewish and Israeli students. The Department of Justice claims UCLA administrators show deliberate indifference to the growing hostility on campus despite receiving reports of harassment and intimidation targeting Jewish students. The complaint points out specifically to the anti-Israel encampment that took over portions of UCLA's campus in April of 2024. Federal officials allege masked demonstrators physically attacked Jewish and Israeli students outside Royce Hall, accusing protesters of using sticks, pepper spray, and physical force against students attempting to access campus facilities. Do you guys remember the full-on riot where they had to bring in all the neighboring police departments and law enforcement agencies to break it up? It was a full-blown riot at UCLA. According to the Department of Justice, demonstrators also formed so-called human phalanxes to prevent Jewish and Israeli students from entering academic buildings. Universities have an obligation to maintain safe and inclusive campuses for all students, said Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Essail for the District of California, for the Central District of California. Universities that violate our nation's civil rights laws by repeatedly failing to shield Jewish students from anti-Semitism will be held accountable. UCLA was one of many. I'm reading from the release here, but it was one of many campuses that had these problems, including ones right here in our backyard. The latest lawsuit follows a separate federal civil rights case filed by the Department of Justice in February, alleging that UCLA also permitted a hostile work environment for Jewish and Israeli faculty and staff in violation of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. That complaint alleged the university engaged in a pattern or practice of discrimination by allowing anti-Semitic harassment to persist while failing to enforce viewpoint-neutral policies governing demonstrators, including time, place, and manner restrictions on campus protests. According to the earlier lawsuit, tensions escalated near Royce Hall during an anti-Israel encampment in 2024, where federal officials alleged Jewish individuals were barred from portions of UCLA's main quad. We saw it on video. It's not even alleged. It's on video. Jewish professors were assaulted. Swastikas were graffitied on university property. The complaint also alleged Jewish and Israeli faculty members were physically threatened. Classrooms were disrupted and workspaces were covered with what the DOJ described as disturbing images. Federal officials further alleged that some Jewish professors faced harassment and ostracism from both students and colleagues. At the same time, university employees and supervisors allegedly failed to report incidents as required and in some cases participated in the conduct themselves. Failing to report things happening to students at a school. Do you know that 5 employees are now suspended from the Longview School District after what happened at Mark Morris High School, where the superintendent, Karen Cloninger, was arrested last week after investigators accused the district leadership of trying to keep allegations of sexual abuse and hazing at Mark Morris High School quiet? Now, a lot of the material we have now found out from court filings where they were apparently worried that the scandal could become, quote, a career killer. So they wanted to keep it quiet. Oh, you wanted to keep it quiet because it might kill your career. Now you're charged. Now you've been to jail. What do you think your career prospects look like now? And I think this should happen to any faculty member, any administrator who covered up allegations like this. What you do is you call the police, say there have been allegations. Would you mind handling the investigation so we don't have to worry about it? We did our bit. That's what you do as a mandated reporter. That's what you do as a mandatory reporter. Is it really that hard? Covering up for their teachers' union buddies is what's going on. Up next, my friends, final hour free-for-all, plus your chance to win more fantabulous prizes. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show's final hour free for all. Your calls, your texts, your thoughts, your stories, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the KVI studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, Congressman Adam Smith discusses political violence, not just on his side of the aisle, but also a little bit that he's been dealing with from the radical left. But before we get to any of that, my friends, a lot of you are sending me texts about the interview we did last segment with Brian Haywood, talking about how you signed the initiative. Thank you very, very much for that. This one here from 12th Man for Life, Brian Haywood and Let's Go Washington are the greatest. They serve the people of our state way more than the Democrats. Josh and Alyssa from Let's Go Washington stopped by my little initiative signing out across from Wildcat Lake near Seebeck last Thursday and helped me out for almost 2 hours. They're absolutely amazing people. They gave so much insight to the process and gave me signs and swag. Let me tell you something about 12th Man for Life. 12th Man for Life has been popping up on his own with no help whatsoever. He has been just popping up on his own, little boost to gather signatures, and he has collected hundreds of signatures on his own. There's no reason you can't do the same thing. In fact, I'm probably going to be having a thing in my neighborhood where I'm just going to set up on a street corner. I'm going to be like, I'm here in South Seattle. Who wants to sign these suckers? I think I'll probably bring security with me that day. I mean, I'm not worried about the Jewish community, but, you know, there's some other ones nearby that don't like me very much. Meanwhile, Rob and Debbie said they signed the petition at the Walmart in Mount Vernon. They said this one here, Becky and Enumclaw, this initiative is quite different than the previous ones. This one is about taxes. The other ones were about boys and in girls' sports and teachers disclosing their instructions. Right. This one, I think, has even more appeal than the other ones. The other ones may be 80-20 issues. This one is 90-10. Everybody wants to hold on to their money. Who's normal? Everybody. So a lot of you are excited about this. We're excited about this. This is good news. How well this is doing so far. Reminder, head on over to Let's Go Washington. Ask for initiative sheets. You can get them right there. They'll be mailed out this week. So if you haven't gotten them yet and you've already requested them, they are on the way. That's what Brian Haywood told us in the previous segment. Now, here's somebody that I blame for the income tax. A little bit more than I blame Bob Ferguson. A little bit more than I blame Jamie Peterson. A little bit more than I blame Sean Scott. Where was the media? Where was the media during the income tax fight? I think the only ones that I saw covering it regularly were Como News. I think Como News covered it, and occasionally the Seattle Times would write something, but it was usually taking the Democrat side. From time to time, they said the right thing, but no. So did you know that yesterday journalists were on strike in Washington State, demanding higher wages and a fight against what their union calls threats of replacement with AI? According to King 5, the Washington State News Guild, a union representing 31 workers at 4 Washington newspapers, including the News Tribune, the Bellingham Herald, the Olympian, and the Tri-City Herald, organized the one-day strike. The newspapers are owned by McClatchy Media. The strike coincided with a similar demonstration at the Idaho Statesman in Boise. Now, I can't speak about the Idaho Statesman. I don't think I've ever read the Idaho Statesman. But I can tell you about the News Tribune, the Bellingham Herald, the Olympian, and the Tri-City Herald. When was the last time you heard me quote any of them? When was the last time you heard me quote any of them? I don't need mockingbirds for Democrat press releases. I want people who do actual investigative journalism. Why is it that every time a company is leaving here in Washington, I find about it first from independent journalists, or I find out about it. Somebody tells me about it. They don't tell the media anymore because the media, if they don't like the narrative of businesses are leaving Washington, they're not going to tell you about it. You want to know how you know that their little strike was unsuccessful? Did you even know it was happening? No, because if you go on strike from your media company, who's going to write about your media company strike? I'm just pointing that out for a second. You guys could write op-eds. I don't think your outlets would publish them. You guys could go on social media, but you have no followers because nobody really likes any of your content. Anybody can rewrite a press release. Anybody can do it. It's how I earn my stripes for the Post Millennial and other outlets. Anybody can write a press release. It's when you say, this thing doesn't make sense. You say that you're going to have free school lunches through the income tax, but wait a minute, I'm confused. I thought 75% of the kids already got free lunches from the feds. So why do you need the money for that? You say this is going to pay for medical stuff, and Medicare and Medicaid. Wait a minute. Democrats, didn't you guys cut that stuff? How come I'm not seeing any of those articles? And it used to be the local papers are the ones who did this deep investigative work, who did these deep dives. One of the best ones in town is the Linwood Times, our friend Mario Lotmore. He works his tail off doing these kind of stories, getting the stories out there that you need to know that bring you information. I don't need to mention all the people you already know, but when's the last time you went to the News Tribune, the Bellingham Herald, the Olympian, or the Tri-City Herald for any news? They're mad that their ownership is talking about using AI for their jobs. I'm going to say this. If you guys are just writing press releases, why can't AI do your jobs? Where's the real investigative work over at these outlets? You say you don't have enough money, you don't have enough funding. Well, guess what? All the stories we break around here, I do it by myself. I don't remember ever citing any of these outlets. I'm not saying I haven't. Maybe I did once or twice, but they're definitely not my little black book of the right-wing media conspiracy. They're definitely not my little Maoist book, little red book, because they don't matter. Nobody even knew their little protest was happening. Maybe if you guys had covered the income tax, maybe if you guys had covered stuff years before then, people would know about it. Maybe. Like today. You know how I found out the company that makes those genies, the lifts, the blue lifts that you see working on electrical lights and stuff of that nature? You know how I knew they were leaving? I saw it from an independent journalist who was posting about it on social media. That's how I found out about it. Genie Industries, owned by Terex LLC, is going to be closing its aerial parts and logistics facility in North Bend. 117 jobs gone. Vamoose. Goodbye. Because we now know from the Washington State Employment Security Department that the first round of layoffs are going to occur on July 20th. Now, if they need less genies being produced, you're going to tell me that's being replaced by AI? No. It's because less people are ordering genies in our area, because less construction work is being done in our area, because less maintenance work is being done in our area, so they need less genies. It means that Hertz Rental or whoever needs less genies because less people are renting them out for their projects. That's what it means. So that means less work for the company, and that means they're going to consolidate their operations. So now, these guys can join the other companies that are fleeing Washington State. You want to tell me that Soak and Sage, that spa company, that's because of AI? No. They're expanding where all the techies go that can afford the spa treatments. They're following Starbucks to Nashville. That's not an AI issue. When Starbucks claims, oh, it's AI, because it's our tech sector, we're redoing our tech sector. So you're laying off hundreds of people here, but you're hiring 2,000. You're hiring 2,000 in Nashville. No, that means you're getting rid of the jobs here. How many other companies? Delta Camshaft out in Tacoma. You going to blame that one on AI? He literally told us why he's leaving. That guy's been making the rounds everywhere. He told us first. Now he's on Fox. Now you see him on all the other outlets. He told us first because now his story is getting out there. I wonder how many people contacted these McClatchy news agencies with tips, but they said, you know what? It kind of goes against the Democrats, so we're not going to run these things. I know, because when I was dealing with this stuff, before I had a radio show, before I was in media, I knew that a lot of people blew me off all the time. I'll tell you the story about Jesse Jones. Jesse Jones, what do you have? The Problem Solvers or something? Or Jesse Jones? I don't even remember. What was the show called? I don't even remember. Doesn't matter. Jesse Jones. Kevin's laughing because every time I can't even remember what his show was called. Can't even remember. What was it?
Problem Solvers was on Como.
Okay, so what was Jesse Jones then?
I don't know did they have a name for it? I don't remember.
See?
Like, that's what I'm saying. We all remember Jesse Jones, and we all remember the problem solvers, and we
put
them
them
together in our mind.
Because back then, everybody had their own version of that show.
Correct.
Those shows aren't around anymore. Now they get mad at us and say, you remember those shows? What'd they do? They went knocking on people's doors. You remember that? It was that ambush journalism stuff. Now they get mad at Jonathan and Brandy and Cam Higbee and everybody else who does that kind of investigative journalism. They get mad at all of them about it. When they get mad at our friend Carlene Johnson, who's doing it for the Center Square. Oh, you guys aren't real journalists. You're harassing daycares. No, we're trying to find out why there's no kids in your daycares. Jesse Jones came out to my office one time. I gave him a tip. Hey, I got this problem with these illegal truckers who are operating around my business. He was so excited to do the story until he found out they were Somalian. When he found out they were Somalian, he actually said to me, don't worry, we'll get these roughnecks for you. And I corrected him and I said, you know they're Somalian, right? That was the end of the story. They filmed the whole thing. But wouldn't you know, there was nobody wandering around that day. It was just the illegally parked trucks everywhere. That story never aired. At least I never saw it. All of a sudden, Jesse Jones wasn't as friendly anymore. You put that guy in charge of finding all the problems for Turd Ferguson and holding them accountable? Oh, he's doing a bang-up job. Hey, Jesse Jones, when are you going to tell us how many businesses left Washington because of your boss's policies? Aren't you supposed to be holding Olympia accountable? Are you supposed to be holding Turd Ferguson accountable? What happened to Jesse Jones? What happened to that? Not seeing any of it. How about this? The amount of homes on the market. It's not just the luxury homes anymore. The amount of homes on the market is doubling because it turns out when you have a whole bunch of layoffs in the area, be it from Meta, be it from Starbucks, be it from Amazon, be it from Microsoft, be it from any of these companies, people who are not millionaires are going to be looking for other jobs, and they're not here anymore. They're going to other places. Whether they're leaving Washington State entirely, that's happening a lot, which is why all these homes are on the market. Report after report after report. Now we're finding out the bulk of the Meta layoffs, that's Facebook and Instagram, are here in Washington. Close to 1,400 people are getting laid off here. Because if you want high-priced talent, why should you pay the high taxes on them that we have here in Washington if you could have them anywhere? I wonder, what is the media focused on today? What are they focused on today? Mark Zuckerberg's big yacht coming to town. That's what they're obsessed with. That's their idea of journalism. Let's just demonize the gajillionaire. As opposed to, hey, why do you think these jobs are all leaving Washington? Is it the income tax? Is it the estate tax? Is it the capital gains tax? Perhaps, just perhaps, it's the fact that you charge them for high-paying jobs. Maybe it's that. Whereas places like Nashville give you tax credits for bringing them high-paying jobs. The media's on strike for McClatchy. Nobody noticed. Nobody saw they were on strike because nobody reads their outlets anymore. So I make sure I got this right. Your idea of getting paid better wages and not being replaced by AI is to go on strike. How'd that work out for Starbucks? Starbucks closed those locations. In fact, on top of that, if you guys aren't producing content for the media and you guys are saying you should boycott their outlets, you think that's going to get you more subscribers? You think that's going to happen? Yeah, that would be like me going out there and saying, boycott the Ari Hoffman show. Just boycott it. I want you to boycott it. thinking that'll get me more subscribers on podcasts. That's the logic here. It's insane. They're cutting off their nose to spite their face. You think this is going to help your outlets? Most people didn't even realize you were on strike because you're not covering the big stories. You're not covering the stories anybody wants to read about, and nobody trusts you anymore. How many people still get a home delivery subscription to their local Gazette, whatever it is? Any of these outlets, nobody does. And online, they're not checking you because they know you have a bias. They know you have a bias. And they, at least with me, I say I have a bias. You guys pretend you're real news outlets that are unbiased and you're not. That's why Fox News was so effective. Because they said fair and balanced. How many Democrats refused to even come on this show? Which is why I'm so happy when they agree to do so. Up next, my friends, we have Congressman Adam Smith, who's going to be talking about the violence he's been faced with, not just in his own home, but elsewhere, because of radical activists, the same ones that target me from time to time. Tell you all about it when we come back. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570, KBI. It's unfortunate that every time there are death threats, there are attacks on people who have political opinions. A lot of times, no matter if they're Democrats or Republicans, you see people saying, well, I disagreed with their opinions, but, or, I didn't like them, but. It's really refreshing to see a post which doesn't couch in anything. It just says, wrong is wrong. You should not attempt to kill politicians, no matter what side of the political spectrum they are on. Joining us now to discuss, Congressman Adam Smith from our very own Washington. Thank you so much for being with us today.
No, thanks. I appreciate the chance.
Now, Congressman, I saw your post about the attack on the White House the other night. Somebody fired a bunch of shots. You saw journalists hitting the deck who are over there on what's called Pebble Beach, where they do their interviews in front of the building. And you made no bones about this at all. You just didn't couch it in anything. You just said, this is wrong, and we need to do more to stop it.
Yeah, look, I'm really worried about where politics is at in our country right now. Certainly the rhetoric is getting hotter and hotter. Every election is the be all and end all of human existence. If we don't win, the world is over. But more than anything, I was struck by something that, and this is a Democrat who said it, but, they were talking about why, some Democrats think we should so aggressively go after the rich and corporations. And by the way, I think, a fairer distribution of wealth is an enormously important issue in this country. And I don't have a problem with talking about tax codes and, social welfare programs and whatever. But when asked about it, the person said, well, we need villains. And I thought, no, we don't, actually. We need policies. We need people to discuss their differences respectfully. I think the contest in politics now seems to be figure out who to hate. Okay, make the case that this group of people deserves to be hated, and then go make your case. And that's, just not where politics needs to be. And I see it on the right. I see it on the left. Let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about issues, because hating people just leads to violence and all manner of conflict.
That's why we like having you on the show, because whenever we have you on the show, we disagree on plenty. But it's always a substantive conversation about whatever the issues of the day are. When I've spoken to you in person, we can always discuss the issues. When you've come to my synagogue, because I am one of your constituents, we can have a discussion about the issues. And far too many people don't even want to have those conversations anymore. Now, do you think your perspective on this has hit a lot closer to home, literally, because of what's been going on at your house?
No, absolutely. And look, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've told people this facetiously. I've irritated a lot of people over the course of 36 years as an elected official. I've had people show up at town hall meetings, very upset with something that I did. And prior to like 3-4 years ago, I was always able to have a conversation, okay? Now, I worked at it. I didn't take things personally. I tried to be fair and do everything I could, but it was possible. And then about 3-4 years ago, I noticed a shift in politics, and the people who keep showing up at my house at all hours of the day and night to scream at me and my family, they're not interested in the conversation. In fact, it's very interesting. It's like 4 years ago, the first issue this group had was around something to do with the Philippines, which isn't worth getting into. But they weren't happy about it. They showed up at something I did at the UW, and they stood up and called me a war criminal like 5 or 6 times. And I said, let's talk. So I had probably 2-3 different meetings. And finally, at the last meeting, they demanded, because they always demand, that I do a town hall meeting with them. And my staff's like, ugh. I was like, okay, I'll do it. So we went to this church in Southeast Seattle. And for an hour, they belittled me and yelled at me. I struggled to get a word in. Okay. At one point, I just sat down and said, look, it's your hour. Okay, if you just want to yell insults at me for the rest of the hour, that's cool. Well, no, we want you to answer the question. Answer the question. I said, well, I got to get more than 3 or 4 words out of my mouth in order for this to work. And then at the end of it, they had some pre-planned question. And they all held up signs saying shame, 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 or some damn thing. And I'm like, and that's who I'm dealing with. I mean, and now they come here and they say we passed the ordinance to say you can't target an individual's residence for a protest. And they're like, well, see, it's our only opportunity to talk to him. Yeah, I have talked to them for years and years and years, and that's the thing. They're not interested in a conversation. They are interested in threats, intimidation, and silencing any opinion they disagree with. And this is a huge problem. And you see it on the right. I mean, just to be ecumenical here, I've got colleagues of mine in Congress who voted to certify the election in 2020. They get death threats. Their family gets death threats. They've had the same thing happen to them. So I want to get a politics that says, no, hating people. I don't know where people got the idea that somehow we have a shortage of anger in America. And somehow if you can show up and show that you're angry, that proves that you're different. I mean, I got no end to angry people. I need people who are going to try to solve some problems.
Yeah, and actually, by my count, since you and I have been talking, there's been at least 2, if not 3 town halls where you said, we'll talk about the Middle East, we'll talk about whatever you want. One of them was at a school where they did exactly what you described with the one about the Philippines. And the other one where you had this other event, they came marching in. They allegedly assaulted one of your staff members. In fact, that was the husband of your opponent who's running against you right now. And the same group is now burning flags in your driveway.
Yeah. By the way, not allegedly. He did assault one of my staff members, so much so that he pled guilty to it in Renton Municipal Court to a simple assault charge for doing just that. And that's the other part of this. 2 of the 4 people running against me have stood right outside my front door screaming at me. So we're not talking about some fringe element that, everyone has enthusiastic supporters. I'll tell you a secret. Back in the day when I was 25 years old running for the state senate, some of my friends from high school stole some yard signs from my opponents. Okay. So yeah. And I told them, guys, that doesn't help.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Okay. So yes, there are some enthusiastic supporters out there, but these are the actual candidates running for office, thinking that it is an acceptable way to campaign to harass, intimidate, and threaten your opponent in his personal residence. And that's not okay, A, because it leads to political violence, but also it doesn't address the issues that we need to address. Okay. What should our healthcare system be? What should our national security policy be? What should our education system be? I happen to think those are very difficult questions. They're not as easy as everyone says. I want to have the conversation. Let's figure it out. I know we can do it, but right now we're not doing it. We're just screaming at each other.
I agree. We're talking with Congressman Adam Smith from our very own Washington State right here. And something that I noticed in your post as well about this that you put on social media was that you mentioned that the journalists were also targeted in this because they had to hit the deck because they're broadcasting right outside of the White House when this event happened. We had, of course, what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Everybody saw that one happen. And it seems like journalists are not just in the line of fire from time to time, but they are the targets from time to time. I mean, you see what happens with independent journalists here in Seattle who are on the receiving end of the very same thing you're getting from the very same people. And I hear a lot of people demonize the media. Either president does it and he says, oh, this is the fake news media, or the left does it and says you're not a journalist. But I don't hear a lot of politicians saying targeting the media is off limits, especially with a lot of the assaults and such we've seen in Washington State.
Yeah, no, that's real. Again, that gets to, we're not here to talk about issues. You're either on my side or you're not. And if you're not on my side, you're evil, awful, and terrible. And I think people think threats work. Now, I will say, doesn't help President Trump suing the media constantly every time he doesn't like them. Pete Hegseth kicking the media out of the Pentagon because he doesn't like what they're saying, or he doesn't like the pictures they're taking of him. This is across the board, but it all comes back to that central idea of, if you're not saying what I want you to say, it's not just I'm going to say, here's why I disagree. I'm going to try to silence you one way or the other. And that's not acceptable. And let me just say, I know a lot of people blame social media. Okay, because you go on Facebook, you go on Twitter, and you can say things that that maybe you wouldn't say in person. Look, don't blame social media. This is an individual personal choice. Okay, you can respect the political process or you cannot, and we all have the choice to make. Whether you're posting it on Twitter, whether you're trying to communicate with an elected official, whether you're explaining how you feel about a journalist. It's a personal choice. And right now, too many people in this country are making the wrong one. And then too many politicians are doing what you said. I mean, I've had, my house was actually vandalized in addition to the people, showing up and screaming at me from time to time. And I had this conversation with some of my friends on the left. And it's so funny. The way you said this in the opening was that, well, of course, nobody condones that. But, okay. But, you understand their passion. You understand why they care. I had this argument. Look, and I understand, whether you're talking about the situation in the Philippines with Duterte, the war in Gaza certainly is important. But I said, look, there are a lot of people who are pro-life. I mean, and they think that abortion is murder. And this is an incredibly important issue to them. I disagree with them, but why shouldn't they be showing up screaming constantly? Or on the other side, the pro-choice people who think that you're placing all of these issues are important. Most of them, to one degree or another, can even be called life or death past a certain point. If that justifies you terrorizing anyone who disagrees with you, then we're headed for, civil war. We're headed for endless conflict. And, politics is a substitute for violence. And I'm worried that we're choosing violence over politics now in our rhetoric and in the way we're pursuing these issues.
In the last few minutes we have with Congressman Adam Smith, to avoid getting either of us into campaign issues or anything like that, or any problems, it seems like, I'm just going to discuss this generally for a second, but it seems like as a result of some of the primaries, it seems like a lot of people on the right are rejecting the far-right extremism that we're seeing, and they're getting rid of a lot of these candidates. But it seems like on the left, it's mixed results. It seems like some of these far-left candidates are making it through. A lot of the Democrat Socialists of America candidates are getting rejected. Do you think that with the party, the left, embracing some of the more fringe rhetoric, somebody like Graham Plattner or anybody else like that, that it's kind of taking away from the message that the Democrat Party is trying to moderate back to the center, whereas the right, it seems like, is rejecting the fringe element?
Right. Yeah, Bill Paxton just got elected last night, right? I mean, I'm not sure your timing on that.
I wouldn't compare him to Graham Plattner, though. I don't think I would do that. Yeah,
he's pretty extreme. So I mean, I think it's more of a mixed bag on both sides. So I won't give you the Republican point, but I will give you the Democratic point. And I think part of the challenge is you've got that small dedicated group in our party that wants us to go hard left. Soak the rich, all very, aggressive socialism. And they're out there, they're loud, they're pushing it. But then you got a larger chunk of our party that just feels like we're not fighting Trump hard enough. And I disagree with that, by the way. I mean, we impeached the guy 3 times. Impeached the guy twice. We charged him, I don't know how many times, tried to convict him. It seems to me like we're going after him pretty hard. But what the left is cleverly doing is they're trying to co-opt those people who say we're not fighting hard enough. That was Graham Plattner's whole thing. I'm going to go take them on. I'm going to be tough. And I think in that, we're pushing ourselves further to the left on some policies that are problematic.
Yeah, I think so too. And I actually wish that I had seen a complete version of the autopsy, because much like the one the Republicans did in 2012, it was very, very revealing. And I find it interesting that a lot of that stuff was missing from the autopsy. And I know there's a lot of people on the Democrat side of the aisle who are saying, give us the full report, because this isn't it.
Well, the autopsy was terrible, and the autopsy was like technical. Mm-hmm. Oh, it would have been better if we'd spend more money, or if we'd used social media, or if it ducked all of the issues. And that's the biggest problem my party has right now. We have deep, deep differences of opinion within our broad coalition. And mostly we're trying not to talk about them. And they're going to come up. And, whether, you want to say the left says, oh, it was because of Gaza and we did, you should talk about it. You should analyze that. Or, the people more in the middle say it was because of radical policies on the border. We spent too much money. Identity politics. We should at least be able to have the conversation. But what I think what Ken Martin decided was, if we have that conversation, it's going to be more of a problem. So let's just sort of do this generic little, no, I mean, that wasn't an autopsy. That was just a, whitewash, we don't really want to talk about it. And I think we need to talk about it. But again, the way we talk about it these days is we scream at each other. So I think we need to talk about it sensibly. And get to a good conclusion.
Yeah, I completely agree, which is why I always enjoy our conversations, and I enjoy that you come on the show when so many other people won't, because I never see a problem with having the conversation. Congressman Adam Smith, do appreciate you joining us today. I'm glad your family is safe, and thank you for speaking out on this important topic.
Thanks, Ari. I appreciate the chance. Always enjoy our conversations.
Me too. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder, we are giving away a pair of tickets to the Roy Rodeo this Saturday and Sunday. All you have to do is text the word I give you to the number I give you for your chance to win. Kevin and young Zach are going to be out at the rodeo on Saturday. I'm going to be there on Sunday. So if you want a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Roy Rodeo, text the word Hank, as in crank the Hank, as in Hank, 101.5 FM, our sister station, who will be out there with us as well. Text the word Hank, H-A-N-K, to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. I know anytime we have Congressman Smith on, the text line is going to blow up. This time it's a little bit different than it normally is. Normally, here's what it is. Why did you have him on? How dare you? And guys, I'll say this. I spend 3 hours on the show talking every single day. He gets to talk for, let's see, that was a 15-minute interview, so he gets about 8 minutes of it, and I get to spend the rest of the show refuting it. But the majority of what he was saying is in agreement with us. Do you know who he's being targeted by at his house? Shama Sawant and the far-left activists. Melissa Chowdhury and the Islamists. Her husband was arrested by ICE for immigration fraud. These are the people running against him. You think that's going to make him more sympathetic to their cause? I notice he's actually toned down the anti-Trump Iran war rhetoric in the past few days, because who are the people who are agreeing with that kind of rhetoric? This one here from Becky and Enumclaw, I think the far left group is growing. I mean, look at Bernie Sanders supporting all this money. So, Becky, I did a whole segment on this, which actually is up on my social media channels, about how I think Bernie Sanders won the 2016 election. Not because he became president, but because his ideology is what all these far-left wackadoodles are running on right now. That's exactly what it is. Forrest Cat says the extreme leftists demand cancel culture, support violence against opponents, all while screaming ignorantly about the Constitution. Yes, I agree. I completely agree. This is the kind of stuff we are dealing with all the time. So here, Becky also says there is so much of what Adam Smith is saying that I do not agree with. Me too, Becky. Me too. Me too, absolutely. John in Lakewood is tired of the Democrats blaming both sides. So am I. So am I. I don't think Ken Paxton has a tattoo of a Totenkopf on his chest like Graham Plattner does. I don't think Ken Paxton supports Hamas like Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, AOC, Ro Khanna, and the rest of them do. Of course not. Of course not. Craig and Puyallup, what's going on in my head? I'm agreeing with a Democrat. Well, as they say, welcome to the party, pal. Oh, you mean some Democrats are finally had enough of political violence? You got to give credit where credit is due. The fact that they're attacking him and he's calling it out, and that post he put up about the White House shooting didn't say, well, I disagree with President Trump. Well, I'm a frequent critic of President Trump, which is what most Democrats say. Adam Smith just came right out and said, you should not try to kill the president or the journalists on the White House lawn. Bare minimum, as they say, but at least welcome to the party, pal. Exactly right. The rest of you want to tell me it was Get Jesse. That was the name of the show. Get Jesse. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Anita. Get Jesse. That's what it was. Well, somebody get Jesse, because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in Turd Ferguson's office that Jesse is. Does he still work for them? Does he? I didn't even notice he was even there, except for like the first week where it's like, hey, it's Jesse Jones. And everybody went, oh, it's Jesse Jones. I even saw Republicans doing that. Hey, Jesse Jones is in the building. And what did that accomplish? Maybe we should have Jesse Jones on the show. Maybe we should interview him. Hey, why didn't you run that story I asked you to run years ago? Was it because it was about Somalians? Oh, wait, Somalian fraud. Maybe he'll talk about it now. Who knows? Maybe he'll talk about it. This one here from Forrest Cat. Ari, my friends are Democrats. They don't know that I support Trump. I just listen to anything they say that's political. They all have TDS. I don't watch TV, haven't had it for decades, so it always catches my attention when I go to a Democrat home and they have MS Now on their big screen. 2 days ago, MS Now was whining with seriousness about Trump's physical and trying to claim that Trump was worse than Sleepy Joe. It was very hard for me to avoid bursting out laughing at the hysterically idiotic lefty TV. Yeah, I love when they say that. Yeah, Trump's not with it. You watch that cabinet meeting today? He's there the whole time, talking the whole time. That's what he does. He's Trump. He's always been Trump. Is he a little bit older? Sure. Notice Joe Biden never had a single cabinet meeting. Not one. Oh, wait, I'm wrong. We have to fact check that. Jill Biden ran his cabinet meetings. You remember that? That's right. Dr. Jill running the cabinet meetings for Joe Biden. I'm sorry, did anybody elect her for anything? Anything at all? But she's running the cabinet meetings? Our very own Mrs. Wilson. I don't know whose body count is worse. Probably Edith Wilson's. She had World War I and World War II. So, yeah, I guess Dr. Jill had some work to do and didn't fully get it done. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news headlines put a smile on your face. Heading into your evening commute, you're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Only good news to wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Before we get to our good news headlines, just want to remind everybody of our second contest going on. You can win a pair of tickets to an advanced screening of Steven Spielberg's latest movie, Disclosure Day, at AMC South Center on June 8th. The film asks a chilling question. If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you? With a cast led by Emily Blunt, this is shaping up to be one of the season's biggest conversation-starting theatrical events. So if you want to Have your chance to win tickets to see an advanced screening of Disclosure Day. Head on over to KVI.com. Enter your information right there for your chance to win. Also, while you're entering information, sign up to become a KVI Insider. That way you know about all our upcoming events. And also subscribe to our podcasts and check out the latest articles I put up there before we even do them on the show. Got a fun op-ed that I put up last night that I think we'll be discussing tomorrow about the fact that Seattle is celebrating all the new barriers at Pike Place Market, but demonizing all the people who decide to put barriers to protect their neighborhood from the gang war. Crazy, crazy stuff. That's all over at KVI.com. All right, good news. I don't know if this is good news, but I laughed a lot, especially with the image that was circulating the interwebs of the animal in question. According to the Post-Millennial, a dog accidentally discharged a shotgun and hit a woman at a Nebraska gas station on Saturday. Sounds like that dog didn't have a license to carry firearms. That's just my guess. The blast went through the vehicle and injured the woman who was sitting at a red light several yards away. Now, this is tragic. This is awful. I mean, dogs shouldn't shoot people. But, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. And what's funny to me is they just have a picture of the dog just staring at the camera like it's a mugshot of this sweet, innocent little dog who just stepped on the trigger and then tried to kill its owner. It's kind of funny.
Where was this at?
Kind of funny. It was everywhere. KNOP had it. Nebraska.
It was Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while, but I think you're not supposed to have a loaded weapon in your car in Washington State. Like if you're hunting, your rifle is not supposed to have like at least one in the chamber. I don't believe.
I don't remember. I have to go back and double check. It's been a while since I reviewed those because I don't often go hunting. I mean, when I have a gun in my vehicle, it's usually on my hip the way I normally carry it. So, yeah, it might be time to review those.
I mean, it's Nebraska, though. So
it's Nebraska.
I'm sure that's not a law there.
No. So, the event took place just after midday when the truck stopped at Short Stop, a combined gas station and convenience store. And the Scottsbluff Police Department said the dog remained inside the vehicle after the dog's owner stepped into the store. A second person from the truck also exited, but lingered next to the vehicle. While alone, the dog moved into the back seat and made contact with a shotgun that had been left in the truck. The weapon was apparently loaded with a live round in the chamber, fired the shell. The shot reportedly tore through the passenger side door, crossed the parking lot, and hit a woman whose car was stopped at a red light a short distance away. Wow. A shotgun pellet struck the upper portion of her right arm, which was resting out of the window at the time, because it's Nebraska. Her condition was not deemed life-threatening, and a relative drove her to the regional Nebraska. A relative drove her. We didn't call the ambulance. Got shot by somebody's shotgun. It happens in Nebraska. And took her to the hospital. Police said the incident was initially reported involving a BB gun, but responding officers later found out it involved a shotgun. Authorities said there was damage to the vehicle's passenger side door that came from a shotgun blast. The police are investigating the incident. What's to investigate? You left a loaded shotgun on the back seat. You left your dog in the car, and bingo, jumped on that dog, and you had a problem there.
Why is this in good news?
I think it's funny.
You just think it's funny?
I think it's funny.
So now
That's really
it's
why.
Like funny news now?
It's tragic. It's awful, but I think it's hysterical. The dog shot somebody. I mean, he didn't mean to do it, right? Plus, we love when wildlife does crazy stuff. Then there's this, and Kevin's going to wonder why this isn't good news, too. Once again, found it funny. And here's what it is from Fox News. A viral video shows a Domino's employee keeping her cool while being confronted by an angry group of customers demanding a refund. The video recorded by one of the customers shows the group upset that the employee refused to issue a refund because the guest did not bring the pizza box back to the store. The employee offered store credit, which was not well received by the customer. So wait, you show up after you could have already eaten said pizza, thrown out said box, and said, we want a refund. I think she was too nice in offering you the store credit. I would have said, no box, no deal. How do I know who you are? Like, you don't remember me? No, it's Domino's. You know how many turds come through our thing? I have no idea who you are. I've never seen you before in my life. The customer said, you can really just refund me. You can really refund me because all the food was dry and nasty. The employee said, I'm trying to offer you a credit. The woman said, we don't live over here. We live an hour and a half from here. Huh. You think they went an hour and a half to Domino's Pizza? A bunch of stuff here just isn't adding up. She was too nice in offering you store credit. I would have said, you live an hour and a half away. Why didn't you go to a pizza place near your house? They said you got to give back the product to get your refund, which is not unreasonable, by the way.
Hey, that was really terrible. I ate the whole thing.
Yeah, it was awful, but we ate it. Now I want a refund. I remember this when I was a bartender. People would come up and say, I didn't like my drink. I'm like, well, bring it here and I'll give you a new one. And they said, well, I finished it. I go, you must have liked it enough to finish it, didn't you now? That was, well, you should have made it better. I'm like, how do I know anything's wrong with it? How do I know anything's wrong with it? You have no idea. This one here. A customer shot back. That's something you should have said over the phone. Oh, wait a minute. So they called and said we want to I think they're just grifting. That's what it sounds like to me. Sounds like they just wanted the free pizza. Good on this waitress for not losing her mind on these people who I don't think deserved the pizza.
I mean, first of all, it's Domino's.
Yeah.
You went and got Domino's pizza and you're like, yeah, that wasn't good. Yeah, it's
Domino's. You know what you're getting into. You know that. Oh, crazy, crazy people. Anywho, that's going to wrap it up for us today, but fear not, my friends. We will be back tomorrow with more insane stories and more exciting guests. You've been listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.